Welcome to the H2Know podcast, where we take you beyond the headlines and into the heart of Hamilton Community Schools. From classroom innovation and career pathways to success stories and community connections, this is your inside look at what makes Hamilton shine. Here's your host, Zach Harry.
Hello, Hamilton community. Welcome back into the H2Know podcast with Hamilton Community Schools. We are joined by our preschool and Hawkeye Kids coordinator, Whitney Hobbs, today to answer some questions about Hawkeye Preschool. Hawkeye Preschool has been growing a lot over the past couple of years. First of all, we're very fortunate to have you in your role. You do a great job, and it's a busy role. But first of all, fill us in just kind of on what Hawkeye Preschool is, what the values are, and why parents should be interested in sending their kids to you.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. That's a loaded question.
Yes.
So Hawkeye Preschool, we are growing, but we still kind of get to keep our values of just being a close-knit type preschool, if that makes sense. We really, truly are a family. And our values really are first and foremost that our students feel seen and that they feel loved. A lot of kiddos have very either limited experience in other, daycares, preschool programs. A lot of them, this is their first experience doing anything like that. And so we really want them to come in and feel loved and valued and seen first before we even get into any of the academic pieces of it. We want them to know that they matter to us. And so we really place a big emphasis on building those relationships with students. The first several weeks of school, that is really what our main focus is. Getting to know the kids, getting to know what do they like, what do they not like, just their little personalities. They're all so fun and they're all so different. That really just helps our teachers know how to construct the classroom and how to really modify their lessons to really reach each student. And so I'd say that the relationship piece is really what makes Hawkeye Preschool unique, is just that emphasis that we put on that. We really try to do a lot of that through play, which I think a lot of people are, it's mixed reviews, right? So play is great, and there's a lot of things that kiddos can learn from play, but it is such a great tool to use to communicate and to learn about children. And I think it's an underrated tool, to be honest with you. It's just kind of something we take for granted. And so when you come into Hawkeye Preschool, you'll see all of our teachers. They're down on the floor. They're in there. They're playing with these kids. And that's intentional. We get down on their level and know what their interests are so we can use them to teach them. And it creates those relationships. It gets kids talking, and it helps them problem solve. It helps with their social skills. And then we get to take that and we get to translate them into academic skills. And so we love play. We do a lot of play. And that's another thing that I think sets us apart from some other preschools as well. We do a mixture of play, so indoor play and outdoor play. And we do have a really great facility at Sandyview Learning Center. We have a lot of great indoor stuff, but we have a really nice, new, beautiful playground outside with, we have a lot of picnic tables, so we can do learning outside. We have a wooded area that we can do some outdoor learning. And we have some nice naturescapes that were put in by Outdoor Discovery Center a couple years ago that we get to utilize as well. And so we kind of get the best of all the worlds, really. We're not a nature preschool, but we do get those pieces that we can then incorporate into our preschool. And so that makes it just really fun and unique, and we can switch it up and just be able to do a lot of things. So I would really say that, the theme that we have is just that the kids know that they're loved and they're seen, and that they know they can come to any of the adults within the preschool, within the program, whether it's their teacher, parapro, lunch lady, me, and just know that we care about them.
You talked about your educators. Wow, what a group you have there. And you touched on the paras too, and the paras are extremely important. I think for me, the biggest takeaway is, I go to the first day of preschool, right? And a lot of the kids are really excited, but then you have a couple that are crying or a couple that are very nervous, and rightfully so. But then a week later you go in there and that kid is having so much fun and they can't wait to go to school. Touch on your staff a little bit and just the experience behind them and how they make every child feel valued and want to come to school.
Yeah. So we're really blessed to have decades of experience within our preschool. We have really, really great staff that have been doing this for a really, really long time, and they are very passionate about what they do, and that shines in everything that they do. And So when those kiddos come in the first week and they're a little bit nervous, our staff cannot wait to love on these kiddos. And that could look different depending on the kid, right? So whether it's, giving them a hug each morning or, problem solving ways that maybe we can bring a little bit of home into the classroom to make them feel more comfortable, or sending pictures to mom and dad to make mom and dad feel more comfortable. Our educators, they are really constantly looking at, okay, how can we really support not only a student, but the family as a whole? And they just utilize all of their expertise. They're very well-trained teachers. They do several hours of PD each year. And then they're bringing that PD back into the classroom and they're applying it within the classroom. Education evolves. It never stays the same. And the group of educators that we have are phenomenal in always taking a look at things and what can we do, what can we use as things evolve, and they're evolving with it. And they do such a great job in just being flexible with it. And they're fun. They love to have fun. You will see our teachers dressing up. You will see our teachers in dinosaur costumes. You will see our teachers on the floor, playing princess. You will see them doing all sorts of things. And they're just a phenomenal group of people. They are truly what run Hawkeye Preschool. They make it what it is. They make my job very easy, to be honest with you, because they're just so dedicated and they really love what they do, and they're very intentional with everything that they do. Everything that they implement within the classroom, there is a lot of thought that goes behind it in making sure that these kiddos are progressing, not just academically, but socially, emotionally, their communication, bringing in resources when it's needed, to really make sure that they get the full experience for whatever their next steps might be.
Enrolling your child. I think a lot of times, especially when it's a parent's first child, right, into preschool, a lot of times it sneaks up on people and, I should probably get them enrolled. What does the enrollment process look like? What do parents need to know? What are some key deadlines? Dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So the first thing I like to say about enrollment is don't panic. Enrollment across the board can be a stressful thing just because there's a lot of moving parts, and we realize that. When in doubt, reach out. That's what I tell everybody. So, the enrollment process, we try to make it as simple as possible. I mean, how we do it in Hawkeye Preschool is we have a Google form that goes live at the end of January after we've had our open houses, and parents are able to sign up in the Google form, which then they receive a receipt to their email that they signed up with of the programming and all the things that they selected, so that they have a copy of that to look back on down the road. January, you're not thinking of what you're going to do in September, right? There's a long ways between those. So we do the Google form, and then from there, we receive the Google form in our office, and then we send specific instructions to the parents based on which program they select. So the registration for 3s preschool is going to look a little different than 4s preschool. So you will get a set of instructions step by step. We also have some screenshots in there, again, to try to make it as simple as possible. We know some of these systems that we have to use are not the most user-friendly. So that's why we're here to help. And then the person who's doing the enrolling, will then follow those steps. And then at the bottom is also a list of all the required documentation to make sure that they have. So once they get those instructions, then they can work through those instructions. And then as we kind of receive things, we as an office kind of stay in contact with people and letting them know, yep, you're all set with this enrollment piece, or we have this, but maybe we're missing this, and this. And we just kind of work with people to make sure that they get through the whole process. So we try to make it as seamless as possible. And we try to give as much step-by-step as possible, because especially if you're enrolling more than one kiddo and everybody does enrollment differently, we do try to streamline it really well with the way it works with the rest of Hamilton as well. And we do use final forms just like the rest of Hamilton, which I think is really nice. We just have a couple more steps, which plays in with the 4-year-old preschool because we are the PreK for all. So yeah, those are kind of the steps. And then as you work through those processes, we follow up with that, whoever is the one doing the enrolling, with just kind of where they're at and confirming, yep, you're good. And then in the summertime, we send out emails as we get closer to the start of the school year of what parents can expect. Here's the start of our school year. Here's when we have our orientation night. And so then they can start to kind of get back in the swing of what to expect when the school year starts.
There's a lot with physical forms, immunization charts, especially for 3-year-olds. I think let's start there. For 3-year-olds, what do parents need to know? How old must a child be? need to be potty trained? What are the things that parents need to know for a 3-year-old?
Yeah. So for 3-year-old preschool, we are a licensed preschool. So a lot of the things that we are required to collect or have is because we are a licensed preschool. Potty training, what we like to say is we like to have students, for the most part, potty trained. We also realize accidents do happen. That's not a major deal. What we do not do in our preschool is we do not do diapering. We just do not have the staff for it, to be quite honest with you, or the space for it. And so we really just like to make sure that students are as independent as possible. And it's one of the things that we try to coach them in as part of the threes program. And so we find if we're diapering, then it kind of eliminates us teaching them to be independent within the bathroom. Our teachers will coach students. It's okay for them to come in pull-ups as a backup. We still have them go in and use the restroom just like every other child. And if they do happen to have an accident, then our teachers coach them through, how to take care of that. And they will step in if they need to, obviously, for their age. Potty training is one of those things that it's really dependent case by case. And so if there's any question about that, that's a great question to reach out to us with, and we can kind of answer it case by case as far as that goes. As far as the documents that students need, we do have to have on file, and it is part of the final forms, the immunization record, the birth certificate, and then we also have to have a health appraisal. So all of those things are license requirements. All pediatricians are used to doing the health appraisal. So most of them have them, but if not, we do have some in our offices that we give out when we do the enrollment paperwork. But we work with families to get those uploaded into final forms. And so those are really the only 3 required documents that we have to have. And then they just put them right in their final forms as they're working through that. And then we know that we have them when they start school.
Tuition assistance, because I think free preschool for all gets thrown around a lot, no matter where you go, right? There's signage everywhere. We are a part of that, but explain maybe a difference between the 3-year-old program and the 4-year-old program. What are the costs, and where does the free pre-K for all kind of come into play for Hawkeye Preschool?
Yeah, so the 3-year-old preschool is tuition based. We do try to keep it as affordable as possible for families, realizing that, when you have multiple children, that could get pretty costly. So we do not typically raise it like others around us, which I think makes us also unique. We don't want cost to be something that prevents people from being able to participate. So we are really blessed to be able to partner with Ready for School out of Holland, which does offer preschool scholarships for tuition, which covers a pretty good portion of that. And so we offered instructions on how to apply for those as part of our enrollment process. And then the scholarship application process goes completely through them. And then they let us know who's all been awarded scholarships. Like I said, we've been very blessed. We've had several people have a lot of success with those over the last couple of years. So that's something we give information to all of our families on. Anybody who's 3 is eligible to apply. They do hold their own eligibility criteria, which is all through Ready for School, and that is part of the information that we provide out. But anybody is eligible to apply, and they do a lot of really great things to help us make sure that we can keep preschool affordable. The fours preschool is the PreK for all that everybody's been hearing about. So that was formerly Great Start Readiness Program, or GSRP. And then in the last, I think it was 2 years ago, instead of it being GSRP, which was an income-based preschool, it's now free for all 4-year-olds. And so it's the PreK for all. So all 4-year-olds in the state of Michigan can participate in the PreK for all, which is the state-funded preschool. We do participate in that. We have 2 offerings for that. We have full day or we have half day. So, just kind of dependent upon what parents want for their children, and what works best for everybody's schedule. We do try to keep the options open for the 2 different kinds. That is completely free for all 4-year-olds in Michigan.
No matter half day, full day, and parents can reach out to you for kind of helping to decipher what might fit their child best. What do you look at as far as half day versus full day? I mean, what are the things that parents need to be aware of as far as, well, would my child fit half day better or full day better?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of factors that kind of go into that. Parents know their kids best, but some of the factors that we look into when it goes to that is really, are they on the younger side of 4 or are they on the older side of 4? Do they have experience in a preschool program or a daycare program previously? Or it's really, again, it's an individual based off of characteristics of the child that we kind of look at. So through those conversations, we kind of talk about some of the needs of the child. And then in that conversation, just kind of letting parents know, like, well, here are some of the options that we have. We've done a multitude of different things starting in half day. And if we have a spot, going to full day. I mean, we can't guarantee a lot of things, but we do try to do what's best for the child and be as flexible as possible to move kids to where they can be the most successful as we possibly can.
Something else that we really need to touch on is Sandyview Learning Center is also home to our early childhood special education program, which is ECSE, headed up by Laura Madreski. It's extremely powerful when you walk into that classroom and just see all of the learning that goes on. What are some of the goals of that program specifically, and what are some of the successes that you get to see every day?
Yeah, so that is a unique classroom in that we have students that come in with all kinds of varying needs. And so our goal of that classroom is to really try to give them as much intensive services that we can to get them to a point where they can be within the general education setting with minimal to no supports. And so a lot of our kiddos come in with speech goals or OT goals or PT goals. And so we really hit hard on a lot of those goals to really just try to get them to a point where they can be successful outside of the ECSE classroom. And so some of our successes that we've had is through that really intensive intervention, we have inclusion preschool this year. And so these kiddos are in our gen ed preschool setting with some special education support, thriving, getting to work on some of those communication goals, getting to also receive all the same services that they would receive, and just getting to, interact with more peers, and they're doing really, really well and having a great time. And so, the goal of that classroom in general is that by the end of those services, they will graduate needing those services and go on to be successful.
We want to thank our community sponsors today, as always, on the H2Know podcast, our Hawkeye Hometown Series sponsors. You can see them on your screen right now if you are watching the podcast. We want to give a big thank you to 3 of our platinum sponsors today, and those are Hoekstra Electric, GMB, and Request Foods. They do a lot for the Hawkeye Hometown Series. And of course, GMB has done a lot through our 2023 bond. We appreciate them very much. And thank you to those 3 and all 42 of our Hawkeye Hometown Series sponsors. And we are back here on the H2Know podcast with Whitney Hobbs, our Hawkeye Preschool coordinator, as well as Hawkeye Kids before and after school childcare coordinator, which, by the way, we'll have a separate episode on that with Whitney. So be sure to check that out wherever you get your podcasts as well. Getting back to preschool, there's a lot with the PreK for all. I'm sure that, I don't want to say complicates things, but there's probably added questions as far as enrollment. You touched on how the form and registration goes live in January. What does that look like as far as enrollment and registration? What does that look like on your end?
Yeah. So PreK for all is Michigan wide, right? So a lot of programs have the PreK for all, and every program runs their registration a little bit differently. So here at Hawkeye Preschool, we have found that it works best to open the Google registration live, so we already know which programs people are interested in. So when the state opens up the registration, basically telling us we're allowed to start enrolling students in the PreK for all, then we can start enrolling as many students as we are allowed to enroll that meet the criteria. We are required to hold a certain percentage of seats. As we get closer to the school year, we are allowed to release some of those seats. So what we do have to do, just like every other preschool who does PreK for all, we all have to do the same thing, hold a certain number of seats. And we create a wait list. We identify that a student has been on a wait list. It's just important for parents to know that we are, as we get closer, able to release some of those kids off the wait list once we are allowed to open up those seats. So don't panic. I think what happens is, you want your child to be in a program. I did it as a mom, and so then you kind of go out and you get on all these lists. And what I have found for parents is that gets very confusing for them, really, because then you're going to have a whole bunch of people contacting you. So if you get on our wait list, do not panic. We will remain in contact with you. We let you know you are on the wait list, and that we will notify you as soon as we are able to release those seats. We're able to release them typically in June, and then again August 1st. So it's as the summer goes, we can release a certain percentage each time as we get closer to the school year. So, and then once we get super close, it's kind of open enrollment at that point. So if you get on a wait list, do not panic. If for some reason we are not able to find a spot for your student, we will help you personally find an equivalent program within our area. We have, connections with all of the programs within our area. We're, part of the OAISD. And we will personally reach out to them and make sure that your student gets in a program that's first and foremost important to us. So don't panic. It's just one of the requirements of the pre-K for all to make sure that everybody kind of equitably has a chance to get a spot. So you will do the enrollment with us following the instructions. There is one extra step for the pre-K for all. You'll enroll here in Hamilton in our final forms, but then you also have to enroll in what's called My ECC. All pre-K for all students across Michigan enroll in My ECC. We do still have to collect income documentation. That does kind of throw some people for a loop because they're like, well, it's free. Why are you asking for my income documentation? That is just for prioritization purposes.
And that's required through the state.
That's required. Yep. So if a program gets full, then we do have to use certain factors to prioritize which students we let in and which ones we don't. So they just require that everybody gather that. So if it comes to that, we're not asking for it after the fact. We already have it and can kind of make those decisions quicker to get kids into the classroom. So we aren't using it for any other reason other than to just have it uploaded within My ECC. Whoever's enrolling can upload it themselves. We briefly look at it to say, yep, it's in there, and we verify that it's in there, and that's really all that we do with it, unless we have to use it for prioritization, which historically we actually have not. It's one of the requirements. It's one extra step for that pre-K for all. But like I said, the program is free. It covers the cost of snacks, breakfast, all the materials students need. It's really a great program.
Hawkeye Preschool information can be found on our website, www.hamiltonschools.us. If you go under schools, you will see Hawkeye Preschool under that tab, and that will have all the information. We will also be mailing out things. If you live inside of the Hamilton Community Schools boundary, you will receive some kindergarten information, preschool information directly to your mailbox. Facebook, of course, is huge. Hamilton Community Schools on Facebook. As soon as the registration link goes live, we will have that out on there as well. Whitney, as we get set to sign off, I just want to know, why do you do what you do? I mean, what is it? What is it for you? What makes you passionate about Hawkeye Preschool? And especially with all of the moving parts. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have to keep on top of with the state, licensing, working with staff, working with kids every day.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the people and the kids, to be honest with you. You could be having the worst day in the world and you walk in that preschool and all of the kids just run up and they hug you and they're so happy to see you. And I get to work with phenomenal people. And, it's just when you love what you do and you love where you work, it just feels like home, And so I just love getting to see the adventure and just the curiosity. And I just love getting to see these kids every single day. It's truly why I do what I do. I'm a mom myself, and just, getting to see all these kids both in my job and then outside of my job, it just really brings it full circle for me. And I just really love what I do.
That is awesome. I love that. And I saw the enrollment map for this year for Hawkeye Preschool, and we have families coming from all over West Michigan to enroll, which I think it speaks volumes to where this program is, where it is going, and the people we have leading it. And that goes to our educators as well as yourself. Keep up the great work, Whitney. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. That is Whitney Hobbs. She is our coordinator of Hawkeye Preschool and Hawkeye Kids. Reach out to her, Hobbs@hamiltonschools.us. I'll just give out your email right there because you do a great job at getting back to people. And if people have questions, I know you have the answer. So,
yeah, well, not always, but we'll find it if I don't have it.
This is another episode of the H2Know podcast put on by Hamilton Community Schools. You can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. And then we will always promote these episodes on our Hamilton Community Schools Facebook page. We hope you have a great day. Hawkeye Nation, go Hawkeyes.